money in the bank. Hit you with the. Hit you with the bank. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang, 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 bang. I'm a boss, and you know that I'm finna shine. Got the money in the bank. Got the money in the bank. Money in the bank. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the. Hit you with the bank. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang to the
Gamers roaming wild on the competitive Valorant plains, welcome back to Game Changers APAC. We are in the playoffs of Open number 2 and we are in our second day, which means unfortunately we have to send some teams home today. But Crema, everyone's going to be playing with every inch of their heart to continue their placement here.
Honestly, because there were so many teams that entered this tournament, the whole bracket looks kind of scary. Even if you win this series, you then have to play the winner of Orangutan versus X10 Crit Female. Like, that in itself is a scary prospect. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, particularly how this lower bracket kind of progresses throughout the tournament. But Harry, we're at stage 1 of that lower bracket as we have GD taking on ZOL Meraki.
Yeah, GamDaeng versus ZOL Meraki is going to be where we start off, but we can have an overview of the entire tournament. First, of course, this is for Game Changers Asia Pacific Series. We are currently in Stage 1, as you can see outlined here. We're in Open number 2, if you have a look down at the lower half of our Stage 1 little graphic here. And this means that there are 6 separate chances between our 4 opens, the Open Overtime, and the last chance qualifiers to get into VCT Game Changers APAC Elite. Over the course of these 4 open events to begin with, we're going to be building up points towards that qualification, which I believe at the moment Alter Ego Celeste are in the lead of. And yep, there they are, sitting pretty at 20 points.
Something I want to highlight is going into this game, GamDaeng and ZOL Meraki, there's a little bit of separation. GD currently sitting in 10th, ZOL sitting in 4th. Now, that on paper it makes it look like this is going to be a very one-sided series. GD are playing out of their minds this tournament. I've been really, and even though they went into this as underdogs, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they upset a few of these teams.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure these guys didn't make it into the playoffs over in Open 1, but they have been playing incredibly well in Open 2. These girls have been absolutely excelling, and of course, like you said, this is a very scary lower bracket to still be in, because not only would you have to go up after winning this, if you win, against the loser of SMG versus Arresta, if you continue to move on from there, this bracket is absolutely stacked. We've got some fresh teams like Orangutan, which are very recently formed, a mega team from so many different nationalities brought together under the umbrella of excellence in female gaming. Let's have a quick look over here, though, at our groups. We had groups A through P. 16 groups, Crema, of 4 teams. So those of you who are doing maths along at home, that's 64 teams, whittled down to only 8. And at the end of today, there will be only 6.
I am really looking forward to what I actually might think is a GD upset. To need to go back to them, the player we need to watch out for is Pamilas. They really have been playing well, particularly on the Viper, and that's sort of been shown on compositions that they play a Viper that you wouldn't often see. I know that in kind of off days, they've been playing Viper on Ascent. We've seen that Icebox, while it hasn't been great, their Viper has consistently been very bloody good. Now, let's look over to ZOL. ZOL, on paper, are the favourites here, but the Filipino team, while they are really well known as the I'm surprised they're actually in the lower bracket this early on. I think they were projected to be one of the better teams in this tournament. They now have a lot to play for because they need to show the world that this isn't them, that they are a team that can get to these finals.
Well, they made it to the lower bracket, but let's see how that happened. We'll bring up our overall tournament bracket here at Game Changers APAC Open 2. It was a day, Crema, of 2 zeros. Yesterday, we didn't have too many hotly contested series. ZOL Meraki fell down to Team SMG, most notably on a Fracture, which was an interesting pocket pick for Team SMG to bring out, and then the Breeze as for second. So we know that Team SMG later on in this broadcast, I believe we're going to be seeing them up against Arresta. These guys are pretty good at the less common picks. They seem to excel quite a bit over on the lesser picked maps.
Yeah, your Fractures, your Breeze, all of them will be coming out here. And it means that vetoing against SMG is going to be really, really difficult. However, let's head back to our current game, ZOL versus GD. Now, for me, for GD, I think the kind of highlight map for them as a sense, I think they played it 6 times. They've only lost it once. Over on ZOL, their highlight map has got to be the Icebox. Same statistic, played 6 times, only lost once. So if I were to guess a veto pattern, it would probably be Ascent, Icebox. Then as a decider, probably one of those unorthodox maps, like your Fracture, like your Breeze.
All right, but before we get into our matches themselves, we're going to talk about what these ladies are playing for. We have ourselves a prize pool that's divvied up from 5,000 USD overall. Our first place winner gets $1,500. Remember, second place doesn't even lose out that much money, 1,200 USD. And of course, the prizes decrease from there. But alongside the money, Kramer, there are also going to be earning those points to get into Game Changers Elite at the end of the year.
Honestly, if you get to playoffs and you don't think you're going to win kind of on paper, your best case is actually just to play for points and have the kind of cash bonus as more of a bonus, and then just focus on getting those points, because something that really took me by surprise was just how contentious this is. Usually when we look at kind of APAC as a whole, you sort of see 3 teams who are kind of head and shoulders the ones to watch out for, and there's a bit of distance between them and anyone else. Over on now, which is kind of APAC Game Changers, all of them look good. There is no big favorite that I look at and go, well, they're going to win.
Yeah, it really does feel like Alter Ego Celeste, the lead they had over in Open 1 and for some of last year as well, has been starting to narrow. They are still, in my opinion, the favorites in this region, but it is starting to become a lot more contentious. Every single game becomes more and more dangerous for Alter Ego Celeste. Today, the ladies are going to be going up against Bren Esports Victress, I believe they're called, which is, of course, we know that Bren Esports, they are a organization in Valorant that prides itself on excellence, and I don't think their women's team is going to be any different.
Here's the thing. So do Alter Ego. We've seen really strong stuff from both teams, both in kind of all esports at this point. So if their quality is anything to go by, that is going to be an insanely good match. However, Harry, in a moment we'll be able to head into our veto. We'll be able to see just where this war will be waged. And for me, I will be very surprised if we don't see an Ascent. I think that even though GD have a very high win rate on it, it's a map that is all something don't shy away from. And so I would be very surprised if Ascent just isn't somewhere in this veto. So for a moment, though, let's take a look at the lineups.
Yes, let's have a look at the teams before we get into the map. ZOL Meraki, fresh off the loss 0-2 to Team SMG yesterday. I noted that Nicole G, who likes to play both the KO and the Chamber, she is a fan of using the Guardian, and we occasionally meet these kind of one-shot demons who love to bring out the Guardian for being a bit of a cheaper weapon curve that still has a huge amount of punch to it.
The player I want to highlight actually is Capricious. Now, usually when you see a player who's good on Jet, that means they are the duelist. You'll see them go from Jet to Reyna to Raze, and they will just play as the primary duelist. And I mean, even on some kind of bookie maps, they may even switch to Chamber. In this case, Capricious, they play as the Jets and then the Viper as well. So it means that we end up seeing a very aggressive Viper that'll put down their Viper spit, some very forwarded choke points, and they'll sit in there with a judge, with just anything to just hold angles. And while on paper it does look kind of weird to make that jump from Jet to Viper, it's really worked out for them.
Yeah, I guess it's going to depend what the maps do demand as to whether we see a Viper alongside another controller as well, but it is Capricious who would be the one to take that over. Let's have a look at what GamDaeng are bringing to the table here. Of course, this team, fresh out of Thailand, and a little bit of a newer roster, but they have plenty of familiar names on here. Pitchy, Linzix, Malvez, Paniex, Panmiles, and Wisdom as well. We're not seeing as much Wisdom. She's not being subbed in as much. She's only had one game thus far in Open 2, and that was playing with a Killjoy.
No, you're right. And as we said in the pre-game, the one to watch out for here is Pan Millers. They have had usually it's the duelists that sort of take the limelight, but the Millers really has been showing themselves to be a star player. We've seen some incredible performances on both Brimstone and on Viper. And something else to highlight is the Millers isn't scared to keep playing the Astra despite the recent changes that have occurred on that agent. So I actually really like the usage of Viper.
And it's a very difficult meta at the moment, Kramer, for control players to be able to maintain as much dominance as they did previously. Of course, so much of the controllers, so many of the controllers have either come to be newly recognized as being viable, like Brimstone and Omen, as Viper and Astra received some pretty heavy nerfs in the last round of Riot balancing.
You're absolutely right. In just a second, I believe we can get into this veto. And honestly, Harry, I'm really excited for this. I've been like trying to pull us to it over the course of this camera segment. So let's take a look where we're going to be having this battle. Fracture, Icebox, and Ascents. You think that's scary? Look who picks what map. ZOL have gone and picked one of the best maps for GD. GD have then picked one of the best maps for ZOL. In what I guess is a fairly nice act of chivalry.
Who says chivalry is dead, Kramer? It's interesting that ZOL Meraki decided to go to Fracture, but they may have been emboldened by the fact that it went pretty close yesterday, 10-13 against Team SMG, a team that really wanted to play Fracture. But the thing is, for ZOL Meraki here, the ladies need to hold on for their offense. They can't allow for GamDaeng to pull too far ahead, because against SMG, their offense was a touch weaker against SMG's defense, which was pretty ironclad. But ZOL Meraki are actually pretty good at defending Fracture. They went 7-5 in their half.
So I think the agent we need to watch out for on our opening 2 maps is the Viper. I think, as you know, Icebox could be almost unplayable without a Viper, and having seen Viper really come into kind of form on your Fracture as well, it puts a lot of pressure onto your Viper players. However, as we highlighted for Pamiles, no worries, they'll play Viper any day of the week. So there's actually a very real chance here we see GD actually upset ZOL Meraki here and go 2-0. Now, I realise it's probably a bit early to say, and I realise that I am sort of hyping them up to be underdogs here. They are really well equipped for this video. Even if it goes to Ascent, that's their head and shoulders best map. So I'm really interested as to whether or not ZOL Meraki have something kind of tucked into their pocket to really try and maybe catch GG off guard.
What the ladies have tucked into their pocket to start off strong here over on Fracture is the combination of both Capricious and Nicole G, because Capricious, of course, we know that she loves to play the Jet, and of course, the snipers are super valuable for taking these early engagements on Fracture, especially when you have 4 separate potential entry points for an attacking team that can get to them for free in the setup stage. You have Nicole G playing on the Chamber to be able to get that same long-range engagement and free escape afterwards, especially when Nicole G is playing on these like 4 spies on the half-eco rounds for the Guardian. When you take your tap and you get out ASAP, it's going to be down to Nicole G and Capricious to be able to build up these early player advantages.
Something else to highlight is, while you spoke about ZOL, I'm talking about GD momentarily, which is PannyX. They're the ones who play as that Chamber. Unfortunately, they also play as a Sova, which means that Chamber doesn't actually come out all too often for GD. So that may be a kind of an option that's just been removed from them based on the veto. However, Harry, I think it's time to get in game.
Yep, let's get over to our agent selector. We can start really expounding some more concrete strategic. Oh, hello there indeed. Yeah, we are going to have the Breach, of course, who has become incredibly popular over on Fracture. The wallbang flashes have been particularly meta-defining when entering these sites.
You're absolutely right. And I really like the Brimstone Breach combo. I think they are really, really versatile agents. And compared to kind of other controllers you usually see, like an Omen, I actually really, really favor the Brimstone more so. So I'm liking this agent select from ZOL Meraki. Over on GD, I think it's a little bit more of an aggressive agent select.
Yeah, a little bit more aggressive. Interesting as well that Wisdom is in after having only played 1 map thus far in Open 2. So Wisdom's getting her 2nd map here and picking the KO of all things, which is going to be interesting in a tightly packed map like Fracture, because of course that knife, that 0 point, can suppress agents through walls, and if you can get it tucked into a good corner, it can be impossible to destroy before the suppression comes through. The agents are detected, and it can be well read. Welcome to the beautiful verdant or dry lands of Fracture, depending on what side you are going to be beginning on. But when it comes to the sides of the mechanics of Valorant, it's going to be GD beginning on the defense.
I quite like the difference in climate on Fracture. It's universal, isn't it? But yeah, I think Fracture at the moment is starting to really mold itself as one of the few categorically attacker-sided maps. And in terms of how you look at win rates, for the Fracture, for ZOL, surprisingly, most of their rounds have been achieved on their defense. Over to GD, it's a complete opposite story. Most of their rounds are on their attack. For GD, I would be expecting, I want to say, kind of 8 or 9 rounds on their attack. Over onto ZOL, again, kind of 7 or 8 would definitely be their sort of objective here. One-sided halves are just to be expected.
Yeah, and ZOL have a little bit of a assumptive mountain to climb here when it comes to how their attack is going to be going, because Believers decided that they wanted to go to Fracture after losing it to Team SMG and only being able to pick up 3 rounds on a cut-short attacking half after grabbing 7 on their defense. So we know that the defense is pretty strong for ZOL Meraki, but they need to have drilled and really rethought out their executions on these sites for the attacking half.
No, you're absolutely right. In just a moment, we'll be able to get underway. Before we do, Harry, can I hear your prediction? Who do you think is going to be taking Fracture, and who do you think is going to be taking this series?
I think that GD are in a good position to try and take this series, knowing that ZOL might have a couple of issues on the attack here, and we're going to Ascent last, which for GD is a pretty strong map.
All right. I would be inclined to agree with you, but I actually think that ZOL on paper definitely have the advantage here. Now, I say that with big hesitation. These are teams that are actually going to be fairly closely matched. I would not be surprised if we see an Ascent, but assuming we do, I'm leaning to ZOL just ever so slightly. ZOL Meraki, Harry. We'll see who's right in just a moment. I remember that I think there's a channel point prediction going up as well. From the looks of it, it's fairly heavily in favor of GD. So, in just a moment, we'll be able to get underway, Harry, with the crowd favoring your prediction.
I think, though, that if GD drop this map, this is going to be a 2-0 for ZOL Meraki. Let's get straight into the action so that I can try and talk through this, because ZOL Meraki, I think they have the largest gun on the battlefield in the hands of Caprescia. She is an absolute nutcase on this jet.
What you need to remember about jets, though, is I think that, jet mentality, to be a good jet, you need to be really cocky, really arrogant, and really confident. If you can sort of shake a jet in the first kind of 3 to 5 rounds of a map, you could really sort of have them on lock for the rest of the series. So for GD, I would love to see some aggressive defensive rounds to start, just so they can build some confidence, and Wisdom's doing just that.
Yeah, moving straight out of tower with the frenzy in hand here. Won't be able to grab the first. Nicole is so clean when she uses that headhunter. Panny on the other side, not quite so good when it comes to that upgraded weapon in the hands of a chamber already. The spike has been planted over on B. And for the side of ZOL, this has been a clean execution to begin, and this was really where I had my worry warts about how ZOL were going to be playing.
Toxins going up.
3 versus 5 for the retake, looking for the early opening. Yeah, another quick opening, and it's just gone downhill, Harry. ZOL, a wonderful pistol round there, only losing a single player. And I love the reactions on the chamber there from Nicole to instantly get that opening, to turn 90 degrees, just flick to a head, and just continue the momentum afterwards, rather than kind of stagnating after you get that first kill.
And something that was very enthusing about ZOL Meraki there was how quickly Nicole G managed to get those flicks off with the headhunter, when technically we saw Wisdom have a peeker's advantage, right? They were moving around the box. She had the frenzy in hand. She closed the distance where you really should have the advantage with the frenzy, but Nicole put an end to that before it could even begin.
By frenzy standards, that was scary range, and I love this aggression. It's laboured. It's certainly laboured. But Capricious, she's able to get a wonderful opening.
Sometimes these free guns just are what they are. 4 players move on through. That's a lovely DP out right there. And then there's the second swing. Mihar decides that Panny's fun is over. A flashpoint might be able to get a good blind here onto the KO. They move ahead, though. Wisdom ain't missing these right clicks. She's taken enough when it comes to the misses with the frenzy, and now has been able to upgrade onto the Spectre instead. GD now in a 3 versus 4. It's a little bit more doable. They are against a bunch of ZOL Meraki members who have plenty of weapons to work with and plenty of health as well. Those shields might be what makes all the difference, as you know that Capricious, she desperately wants more kills to get that arrogance flowing early, and so it's a jump shot with the updraft, which may have been a little bit too much on the side of fun and memes, Kremer.
I quite like it. It's confidence building, isn't it? And we're going to see that free gun banished into what looks like a nuclear reactor there.
I don't need this gun.
Yeah, get it out of my inventory. So they find themselves 2-0 up, but Harry, this is where it matters. GD, they move into their full buy. Vandals and Phantoms alike get brought into this round, and with that, let's see if ZOL are going to be able to convert what is going to be their bonus.
Piety, already more than halfway to that null command. You got to remember, over here on Fracture, there are 4 ultimate orbs. You can get these ults real quickly. Precious tries to make her entry, but stopped in her tracks by the rifle of Malvase. Peachy gets 1, but nothing more than this, and that might be a weapon upgrade that's going to be available. Out comes the Aftershock, and Panny is going to manage to see 1.
Spike down A.
And unfortunately for Exekis, she pushes her luck and gets punished for that, and also she took the spike with her. Now that's an enemy territory. GD simply have to guard this and not take too many risks. It's a protracted door across the A site, but eventually Banmiles manages to hit exactly the shot that they need directly into the head of Nicole. And then just for a bit of extra, you know?
They recover what was a really, really messy fight with a wonderful little tap to the head to end it. It's like your coup de grace. As GD find themselves on the board, they get their first round. And more importantly, you look at the ults starting to climb as well. Peachy and Pamila's 2 away from both the Viper's Pit and the Showstopper. Over on ZOL, Piety is 2 away from that null command, with Mia now with a Rolling Thunder readily available. Do we see this used in conjunction with their full buy?
A Rolling Thunder can be a huge site-taking ultimate. And you know that you can set it up from the underpass here. Admittedly, you don't really want, if you're going to play it from the underpass, you want to hand off the spike to someone else, because the underpass doesn't have great accessibility to the site. The trademark broken down. Nicole's lurking here, alongside Piety, I think, trying to drag over rotations. And here we go, the positioning for the Breach ultimate is getting set up for B.
I like this. They're just getting us kind of close to the site as they can to avoid GD being able to just escape. Here's that Rolling Thunder. Paddy now in big trouble.
And look at this. Out come the smokes, moving on forward. Capricious trying to identify some of these enemies. Nicole's picked up 2, and Piety the rest. All those who would move through mid are slaughtered as Nicole picks up a 4K. An unbelievable performance, and GD are stopped before they can start any momentum.
You wondered what that flank would do, Harry. Well, there you have it, Nicole. What a flank from her. And, well, not only has that given the tour de force, not only has it given the momentum to ZOL, but more importantly, GD are going to have a real difficult time rotating now, because that sense of paranoia is going to be there. We see a triple Marshall by Harry from GD, looking to potentially play the range game against ZOL.
All right, go forth, marshals, and lay down the law. Peachy brings out the classic now a little bit better for a protracted fight, moving straight into Capricious, who mows them down with body shots only. That's all you need when you're up against these under-armored players. Malvase will do their best to defend the site. 3 shots out of a Sheriff, and it's Wisdom from behind, maybe with a right-click hitting some head from the classic. And this has already been a little bit too much for ZOL Meraki to lose in terms of what they're comfortable losing, Kremer. Wisdom might decide to just try and save this Vandal here and call this round a bit of a bust.
I think Panny's going to go for an opening. If she gets that opening, then the retake's on. Wisdom, though, is going to extend into the Brimstone. There's that kill for Panny. Now it's just a matter of doing damage.
These translucent smokes rather than the open ones prevented, or provided rather, by Astra and Omen. Can make things a little bit more complicated. Remember, Piety's quite low, flicking out as fast as possible, doesn't get the engagement they'd quite desire. And Piety decides to try and take revenge for the previous cheekiness of Pani. ZOL Meraki hit 4.
Something to highlight for ZOL Meraki as well is that has really helped their ult management. They have a Blade Storm and Ult Command, a Tour de Force now. The Blade Storm and Tour de Force are sort of like eco ults that you use when your money's not great, but with one away from the Orbital Strike on the Brimstone, they are looking pretty good in terms of additional utility. But that's overshadowed by GD, who have a Viper Spit, Null Command, the Showstopper, which could just lead to an instant player advantage, and for the Rolling Thunder, just one away, just fighting for an ult orb, getting that 4th ult means that retakes are going to be a breeze for you.
Remember, if Capricious is allowed to both become and remain confident, then Icebox is going to be fantastic for her. Moving straight onto the site. One player noted and taken down. However, trade is solid from Panmiles. Exakis catches them on the approach. Malvase has turned away. Doesn't expect the second. Piety. The second coming of the push around the back. Almost a direct hit there would have been with the flash. Wisdom outflanks her counterpart in a KO versus KO engagement, but just as unlucky as previously Piety was, Wisdom has had that move onto them. It's contagious, that unlucky Crema. It's contagious.
Time is proving to be the cruelest of things here, Harry. Mia, go for the WhatsApps. I like it. Build that ego, Harry. Build that ego.
And that's a perfect scenario to have a breach in, right? Like, you don't need to directly see anyone to put down any of your utilities, so you can play from behind that hard cover.
Yeah, and honestly, at the moment, in this current kind of life of Valorant, Breach is one of my favorite agents. I love how versatile they can be, and I honestly would be happy to see Breaches even come out on, say, Icebox, which is a map we don't often see a Breach, but in some unorthodox compositions, Breach has definitely had its place.
Yeah, Breach did have their stomping ground for a while over on Split. Of course, it's yet another eco here for GamDaeng. Nicole tries her best to move away from that fault line, but Piety makes sure anyone who presented themselves had their heads summarily removed. Pani going to try their best to avoid the aftershock. Actually takes 2 blasts of it, I believe. That means that Exakis only needs to hit a single one of those body shots in order to remove her from contention. ZOL Meraki have got themselves another plant. Still, they have 4 players alive, Crema. And GD, with the weapons they have in hand, aren't overly concerned about trying to feed in and do some economic damage here. Mal has been given, of course, for Marshall, as they do not have a huge amount of HP, so Malve better suited to going elsewhere. Maybe not the greatest engagement right there. Piety ends up with 4 after she hits a beautiful flash to get a freebie on Panmiles.
A really, really solid round from ZOL, and I love how that, I'm not sure if you saw Piety's KO dagger, the way it hit the roof of heaven meant that the tip of it hits back sight as well, which meant the chamber got suppressed, meant the chamber couldn't run, and so when the attack did land on that B site, there was no way for Pani to retreat. They just had to fight with a classic. They get swarmed, they get killed, and now GD with 5 ults ready to use, and our first op of the map comes out at the same time Capricious brings out theirs. Peachy
shows their mettle, and Piety finds out the hard way that she isn't getting any freebies over here in A-Halls. Capricious now knows that in this location she's due an operator duel, and moving forward they will be moving into the sightlines of that operator, which makes things a little bit harder to make work, Crema.
Peachy, it's a really narrow angle here as well, so if we see someone just dart across, that can be used to just bait out the first shot, so the counter op can just post up in position. There's that bait of the shot, and now Peachy, they can't really risk fighting again here.
It's a good jump peek, but maybe here what you really have to worry about is Nicole. On the backside, Peachy is potentially heard rotating here. Do they know that Nicole is gathering the info over by Dish? Waiting to move forward, takes out the trademark, and now Panmiles. Their attention has been demanded. A tap upon the orb from Nicole to try and make sure that there is continued attention over towards their angle. But ZOL Meraki, they might be faking going over to B here.
An orbital strike ready to use, and there it is. Instantly buys a bit of space. Do we see the commitment of the Viper Spit now?
Miles flashed and destroyed.
Whoa!
Oh,
My
gets two.
God.
That's an open A site right there. The orbital strike might not have grabbed anybody, but it does not matter in the end. A pop flash and then an entry. Peachy's moving straight into the hands of Mia. An attempt to turn away from a flash drive, and that means Mia does not have the eyeballs to try and take out Wisdom, but Nicole grabs her third, and she is a reign of terror over here on A. Whether it's the backstab or the entry, Nicole is the queen.
Something I want to highlight there is I'm surprised by Camille's hesitation to use that Viper Spit. Bear in mind that you've got 5 ults ready on your team. For ZOL, they have cash. You know, economic damage isn't enough. And for GD, you look at their credits, or should I say the lack thereof credits, if they were able to commit that Viper Spit, then you're looking like you can guarantee a round. There was only 30 seconds left. You could have brought so much time with that, but the hesitation means ZOL are able to convert it and reduce GD to get another really quite a poor buy.
Fanny, TP's out, and guess what, Crema? Same round, same story, or different round, same story. Nicole and Piety on the back here. Look at this, the null command. Seems like it is going to be a full commit here from ZOL Meraki. Waiting a second to try and give some discord, but maybe it's a fake, but piling in onto the site now. Go the bearded individuals of a brimstone in the breach. Exekiss has managed to get the spike plant, and that was a 5 versus 5. The eco here is going to have so much trouble looking for a retake. They don't have many flanks in the way of trying to get rid of Piety or of Nicole, but Capricious can't afford to try and take any of these close range battles, so it's up to the high grounds in an attempt to avoid the rolling thunder. Maybe this is one that GD believe that they can turn around and take away. The shots do connect from the sheriffs of both Panmiles and from the KO, but it's Piety from the top who make sure that you respect the god.
There have been 2 rounds now where GD have had a real chance of taking it, and it's been a hero play by one of the players on ZOL, and that just shuts them down. It was Nicole on the flank with that chamber getting a 4K, and this round it was Piety just shutting down 3 players. The second they try and push in, she just obliterates them, Harry. For GD now, as they move to their next buy, it will be accompanied by a Viper Spit and a Showstopper. This Showstopper, it's been online for a good 5-6 rounds now. I really want to see it get some usage, maybe alongside the aggression to B, but even now it's still not used.
The knife run there, punished. Nicole does fall, and now with Piety low, ZOL Meraki, they feel like they need to take B, because they don't have that control of Dish that has previously been so important. Exekis. Oh, they get the plant for free because Miha guards that area so well. Tower is now her territory. And we've talked before about how good the location this is for a breach when you have all that hard cover and you don't need to maintain a visual line of sight in order to try and play post-plant utility.
They only have a rolling thunder though. There is no more utility on the breach. But that may not matter.
Oh, hello, look at that. Chasing out Miha into the crosshair of Malvis. Panmiles from the back simply can't outdo Capricious. The operator strikes true, and ZOL pick up a 9th as we head into round 11. This half is almost over, Kramer, but ZOL Meraki are running an entirely different play right than they had in the Fracture previous yesterday.
Yeah. I did say, Harry, kind of 8-9 rounds is where I'm expecting ZOL to sort of sit at the end of their attack. For GD, I also expect them to be able to mimic that success. However, if we see ZOL start pushing kind of 10, 11 rounds, that's where, if I'm on GD, I really start worrying.
Oh, battle once more and Capricious.
So
you can have
fast,
your big gun,
man.
you can have your teleporter. What you don't have is Capricious, and she certainly is prickly today. Wisdom lies in wait with her sheriff, but it's not the ideal weapon to stop this. Out goes the flash. Nicole doesn't need eyes. She can smell you coming. And Wisdom has fallen on down. The tour de force added simply as additional pain and suffering. I personally might have liked to have seen Nicole hold on to this for the last round. Everyone's forced out of this location, but Miha simply is presented with a pair of targets, looking for her life. And Panmiles is the one to finish that, but Capricious still has this op in hand, and it's still as deadly.
Last round.
Something to highlight is that this is ZOL's map pick. They want to be here, Harry. And that is something that the members of GDE can sort of take as solace, but the reality is it doesn't matter who picked what map when the scoreline is this one-sided. And we sort of spoke about how for Capricious, if you can shut the Jet down early, if you can really break her confidence, then you can be in a fairly good spot for the rest of the series. I didn't think it would have to apply for Piety and Nicole as well, who are both having an insane performance right now, Harry. We get to the final round, there's an Orbital Strike, there's a Rolling Thunder. We still haven't seen the usage of that Viper's Pit or that Showstopper.
Wisdom. This is the first time we saw Wisdom play, and they did die here to Nicole. It's the same story again, as Capricious has moved once more onto the site of B. The Viper's Pit doesn't quite reach the site itself, so it's down to Panmiles to simply sit within and hope that a guest might come on in. They can move outside. The smoke integrity will begin to falter as they move on through Capricious. She's waiting for the snakes, but she doesn't have any phobia of the reptile. Peachy doesn't know where she's going due to the blind. Will directly appropriate the use of that Showstopper, but in the end, Kremer, ZOL Meraki are looking absolutely ZOL miraculous on their attack.
I am really impressed by them right now. And something that I think ZOL Meraki are doing much better than GD is their ult usage. We see ZOL Meraki, they're using their Rolling Thunder pretty much the same round it comes online. The Orbital Strike then becomes their sort of backup and afterplant piece of utility, and that's why your Brimstone and Breach can play so well together. Over on GD, they're holding on to ults for a very long time. We saw one Showstopper and one Viper Split for that entire half, both of which were only used in that final round, and for a Viper Split particularly, there's so much impact from that ult. I can't help but think that there really should have been a few more uses of it.
And one of the things that also was quite important, I believe, in that round is that we could have seen some more upper control of both B with the arcade and the tower, and of A dish, because retakes on A seemed pretty impossible for GamDaeng, because twice in a row we saw either Nicole or Piety getting a 3k or upwards from that high ground, because there was simply no way to flush them out from the positions that were still available. You can't get there easily from mid because you're crossing over an open A site. And while you are platforming up there as well, when you're jumping and landing, you're not going to have the accuracy to be able to take a Gundle. What you need is someone flanking around the back to be able to actually attack Dish from where, say, you'd be able to claim the ultimate orb and maybe get a backstab on those players who are waiting to get that last minute clutch.
No, you're absolutely right. And when it comes to clutches, I want to talk about some of the ZOL players, particularly Nicole and Piety. Both of them, while not put directly in clutches, they are able to clutch rounds out of what initially looked like quite even retakes. Both Nicole on that, I think it was round 3, that flank just kills 4 players like it's nothing through mid. And for GD, every rotation they had since then was a little bit hesitant because they were scared. Well, where's Nicole? Is she coming for us? And it meant that Nicole was able to have such... Yeah, exactly. She was able to have such impact. Then for Piety as well, that play from kind of satellite. And the absolute second, the round looked dicey. Piety just steps up, kills 3 players, clutches it out, and continues from there. However, Harry, this is GD's chance of redemption. They move to their attack in their second half.
Let's head back into the game, Kramer, but already I am worried this might be a short series, because if ZOL Meraki can win this map cleanly and have Capricious and Nicole on Cloud9 as they head to Icebox, your duelists are so important on Icebox. And Capricious at the moment is looking so much better on the scoped weapons.
You're right. The op duel has been relatively even between the two of them, but we've only seen one direct 1v1, which Capricious was able to win. I think for Peachy, if we see her a few more rounds with the op, they could very well level and even out. But unfortunately, because the rest of ZOL is doing so well, getting an op alone is proving to be a big task for GD.
Yeah, the 1-11 scoreline is not one that's very economically conducive to the purchase of operators.
No, you're
Looks like
right.
at the moment, GD are kind of floating their way over towards B. Down comes the Viper. Well, it's interestingly placed here, having to move through their own Viper wall. Nicole can't win the first battle. Panny winning that is a definite change of tone from what was previously seen. And there's the plant. Now it's 3 versus 5. Piety going to be the first one to try and take some scouting here at range. Not going to be in the best position to try and win this one. Out goes the knife, trying to suppress some abilities. Will the ball be placed back down? Indeed it will. Panmiles cannot keep it up while they are suppressed. Malvez around the back. Panny has been so different when it comes to this headhunter. And we could not have asked for a more different attacking compared to pistol defensive compared to a defensive pistol rounds.
Harry, would now be a bit early to say I'm expecting a comeback from GD?
Yes, that would be quite early.
Well, it would be quite early, but I would not be surprised if GD mount a huge comeback here. I really think that
a flawless pistol round is the best way to do so, right?
Exactly, and as we mentioned when we were talking about Capricious, momentum is everything. If we start seeing Peachy really wake up, then ZOL actually could be in trouble. This is by no means a done deal. And for GD, I think after that pistol round, it sort of occurs to them, you know what? You're right. This is very winnable.
The good news for the players on GD to try and maintain this economic foothold is that they may end up in a 5 versus 1 over on the B site where... Oh no, that's a very quick reaction from ZOL. They see the wall, they read it well, and Peachy has made it on here. But a huge amount of utility has already been expended. That means that there may be an advantage here for ZOL in terms of how to take this battle. 3 bullets in the headhunter of Nicole Panmiles manages to hold down the spike plant here, and you can see Capricious just trying to make herself as small as possible, waiting for an advantageous swing as Peachy. Shoulder peaks, not Shauna peaks, out of the tower here.
Shauna Peak, a close relative of the Sauna Peak, where you steam your enemy.
Well, Wisdom steaming a couple members of ZOL right here. Miha might be able to get 1, and Nicole. They only had 3 bullets in the headhunter, but some of them found Panny, and Panmiles tries to cover the distance, but Peachy's there first. GD grab themselves a 3rd. However, Kramer, this is the danger round.
Honestly, losing 2 players and getting a spike plant on your anti-eco isn't too bad. It's what I would consider like the par. If you keep an extra player alive, awesome. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. You're playing bonus this round anyway. My interest would be as to how Panny and Wisdom actually bring out their kind of second, third round buy. Whether they upgrade to pistols, whether they just hold on to ghosts. From the looks of it, it'll be the option of ghosts. And because of that, do we start seeing them really try and play a range game here?
I mean, GD is brave to go for ghosts here when they're looking against match point from ZOL Meraki, but once again, they pile into B. Exekius is going to be the first one to try and take contact here. Noted straight away. That's a fast run from Malvez. Run and gun she goes. She is speed Kramer. Sally the Porsche has turned up, and she is absolutely brutal. Miha on the back, loses out to the headhunter. It's upgrade city for so many members of GD who seem to have captured some manner of aim that had previously been betraying them. Sean, Nicole, and Piety, the pair of flankers who so well played on the attack, remain. Look at this. A swap around in terms of positioning. Wisdom on one side and 2 in tower. ZOL, they might be able to force people to die to the spike here, but in the end, all that matters is that the round is converted. GD on the attack are built different.
I'm really impressed by GD actually being able to rush Exequies and sort of just harass them down. We saw that drive-by from Malavaz, I think it was, who just absolutely eradicated
Malvez just meow.
Yeah, that was right. Sally the Porsche here. It's time for new tarmac. As GD, they find themselves now on the anti-eco, this time with upgraded rifles, ever so lovingly donated by the members of ZOL. 11 before the score. I'd soon be 11-5, and well, Harry, I'm kind of glad I put my prediction down in the down in round 2.
And have a look at the credit counts of Banmiles and Wisdom as well. They've both been rewarded for their survival and the looting of these rifles with some pretty significant credit counts. And it feels like thus far, GD, they have been very much conditioning ZOL Meraki to pay very close attention to B. And now they are going to reap the dividends of that conditioning by just gently floating over towards a lesser defended A.
Something I would love to see them do with these kind of increased credits is, do we see a really early op investment from GD?
Might well happen. Nicole, no eyes, no bullets, no life, and Miles has taken care of that.
Spike planted.
And look at them spread on out. Very different here, Kremer. And Miles has already bought out her Viper's Pit. No one-off Wonder. No Capricious to save you. No Exekis, but Mia, still alive, grabs themselves a Vandal. And with only 1.9k in the bank, and 1 versus 4, there's a world here where Miha is very happy to just stick around and maybe use this later. Alas, they test Banmiles, and you do not test Banmiles.
Well, in this case, the Viper has a sting to it, as ZOL find themselves...
The snakes are evolving too fast.
I know, keep them back. Lock them in a box, get them away.
They're crossbred with wasps.
Snakes is one thing. Yeah, you ever seen a scorpion snake? As what species are snakes? Because I know that scorpions are arachnids, aren't they? What's the overarching term for snakes?
I guess just reptiles.
A reptilid. The reptile arachnid. Capricious, there's that early op I wanted to see. Not on the side I was expecting to see it, but I like the fact we've seen the early op. I think ZOL have realised that the 2 rounds actually now seems like quite a distance. Bear in mind how quick these rounds have been won by GD.
This operator, huge amount of investment. We might see Nicole play the tour de force as well to have a less economic hit from a double op setup, but the same mechanical hit that it provides. And ideally, honestly, I want to see ZOL Meraki on their defense get a little bit more aggressive in terms of their info gather. We are rarely seeing early fights against GD, and that's allowed GD to kind of be very lazy at the beginning of their rounds and just be able to set up perfectly where they want all their utility to land without having to worry about those fights.
Look, you're absolutely right. And GD, this is actually a really one-dimensional attack. They're just looking to swarm A main here without any challenge at all.
Nicole, up close. Might be able to get a good swing. That's one and instantly escapes. She's taken out her counterpart and nothing more is needed. GD, I believe for the first time in their attacking round, are now going to be working with a player disadvantage.
Nicole has a tour de force as well, which I'm surprised wasn't used this round. With Mia 1 away from being able to bring out that Rolling Thunder, a retake is looking actually quite appetizing for ZOL right now.
Ooh. A tap here and there, keeping them uncomfortable. There's both a fragment and the incendiary. Panmiles round the back has taken out Nicole. Punished, as both the chambers are going to be put to bed for now for a little nut francais. And B site going to be reinforced as the extrication from A was certainly well heard. Mia trying to read it, playing from the heaven here. The engagement is stopped as Capricious says no more. I've had enough of the B shenanigans. Boys and girls, all look, all bow, all hail as Capricious says no pushes today. Thank you very much.
What does the breach really do here? They've only got 15 seconds left.
They say, Kerma.
Yeah. Is Capricious here? Okay. So you know what? I'll go the other way. As Fire Team will make sure that's the ult's achieved the hard way, Harry. Now you look at the ult management moving into what will now be round 18, and you see Nicole with the Sword Force, Fire Team 1 from the Null Command, Capricious 1 from the Blade Storm. Misha has that Rolling Thunder, which they didn't use last round. ZOL are in a pretty good spot for what would either be a very aggressive play accompanied by the Rolling Thunder, or even a retake. Over on GD, once again, one from the Rolling Thunder, the Showstopper's available, as is the Tour de Force. This Showstopper has been held on by Peachy for what was almost the entirety of the first half. We've hit the second half, it's finally online. I would love to see the early usage of it.
Nicole avoids the fault line. But no one is detected, I believe, by the 0 point. Still, this angle will be held. Oh, that's a betrayal right there. Nicole just eats the flash and then takes a blind shot. Capricious. Oh, how do they escape that while blinded? They're going to get a second chance here. Blinded again, though. So much hate here for Capricious. Everything being invested to try and get rid of her. And guess what? It's a pincer maneuver from both sides. Take that one from my old boy, Sun Tzu. It's not the most gracious entry from the Rays either, as we just about wiggle onto the rope. But this one might be a little bit more powerful. The Showstopper almost directly delivered to Exekis. But Wisdom's too fast, and now only Nicole remains. Suddenly, all of their friends are dead. And GD swapped up the tempo by meeting that early aggression. And they were rewarded for it, denying ZOL an easy victory on Fracture.
I was surprised Nicole didn't actually get that kill. They move into a crouching player. I mean, that all just says testament to Van Millers with some incredible shots. 12-6 the scoreline, Harry. Now, for ZOL, this is where, I mean, yeah, you're guaranteed overtime, but if you end up losing 6 rounds on the bounce, does overtime really matter? Looking at how bad your momentum will be. For the members of GD, they did have to commit the Showstopper to that round. However, the Showstopper's not one of those huge sculpting ults that allow you to make swathes across sites. So, the reality is that was not too heavy an investment.
Tour de Force invested once again, this time's in the hands of Panmiles, who is playing over towards Arcade. No one going to be readily offering her a duel. But Exekis is likely to be the first victim here if they aren't overly distracted by the push that may come in. But no command going to be invested as well. Piety waits on the other side, but she cannot defeat her counterpart, Wisdom. The Alpha KO for now. And the plant is in place for a 3 versus 3 post plant here. The Rolling Thunder considered. Will it be invested? Indeed it will. Over towards a site that already has lost Wisdom. Now it's a 3 versus 4. Capricious only has 70 HP to work with. Do they want to move?
Oh my
God! Is so well placed. Can Capricious finish it? It does not matter. Mia's round the back. Don't worry. I'll pick up this one as Nicole picks up the defuse. And ZOL Meraki walk away with a beautiful performance on Fracture.
Oh my god! That final round from Capricious. I mean, we said you do not want the Jet to start feeding Cody. You do not want their confidence to start being unstoppable. That final round there for me, Harry, is where that Jet hits their breaking point. Honestly, that for me is now the big worry as we move into our second lap.
I love the calculus from Capricious as well to go for that right click. Like, it's very rare that we see right clicks these days because, of course, like in early Valorant, it doesn't give you the refresh of the knives anymore. But Capricious calculates that, hey, I can get an insta-kill if I get my right click on, and she's good enough to know that she's going to connect that right click. And when I'm in a 3 versus 2, me just getting 1 out of my ult and not being guaranteed to die afterwards, that's a worthwhile investment of the Blade Storm. So that was some great calculus of win conditions done by ZOL to make sure that they were able to convert that round.
Yeah, I will say hell of a round. Let's take a look at the scoreboard though, Harry. We can really start to isolate and really pick out who was the real MVP for either team. I think Nicole being the MVP for ZOL is no surprise for me. Both Nicole and Capricious both played so bloody well.
Yeah, I think that Nicole and Capricious, there is a lot of reason to be afraid if you are a GD fan heading over to Icebox, because Nicole could play the chamber here and continue to play it well. Capricious is likely to continue playing the Jet. Jet is almost ubiquitous over on that particular map. I wonder if Wisdom remains in. Previously, she has played the Killjoy. This is only her second round in, I believe, in the Open
That's
2.
really surprising.
So maybe she remains in today.
So that's really surprising to me, is look how many rounds are won by just pure elimination. Only one objective win in the entire map. Like, these guys, they like fighting, Harry. And for Capricious, something tells me that's something they will not be complaining about at all. If she can keep that momentum, as we move to Icebox, GD could be in some big, big trouble.
It is going to be an absolute brawl. I'm just going to quickly drag up and have a look at the composition that was previously played by GamDaeng over on Icebox. It actually went very close with Arrester. It was 14 to 16. And admittedly, as far as the record goes for GamDaeng over on Icebox, it's not amazing. But maybe they can try and bring out something that's still got a little bit of spice and flavor to it. Of course, we know that Viper is basically mandatory over on Icebox. And at the moment, Panmiles, full credit to her, she is on fire on the Viper and really could make a difference being an anchor on that B site.
Yeah, I was really quite disappointed in the Viper usage on the attack, but they really redeemed themselves on that defense. However, we'll have to see if that successful defense, at least as short as it was, will be able to continue over on Icebox after this break.
ZOL Meraki versus GamDaeng is in full swing as ZOL Meraki have taken away their opponent's map pick. Kremer, we are off to Icebox now, and ZOL Meraki look poised to take this in a 2-0.
No, you're absolutely right. ZOL Meraki, honestly, they played out their minds. We saw some incredible stuff, particularly from Capricious and Nicole. Both of them really were able to deliver. And for GD, I would argue if they had kind of 1 or 2 more rounds on their defense, that could have turned into a very, very close game. Unfortunately, ZOL Meraki, their opening there, that's just unstoppable.
Yeah, ZOL Meraki's attack really turned around, which was an interesting turnabout as well from yesterday, where they went up against Team SMG over on Fracture, and he picked up 3 rounds on a cut short attacking half after they were a little bit flummoxed by Team SMG there. ZOL Meraki evidently have decided, you know what, we're pretty good at that map, but a little bit of iteration will go a long way, especially against GD. We're heading over to Icebox now, and this is a place which is sort of a kingdom, a fiefdom, divided between 2 queens, Kremer. On one side, you have the air kingdom of Jet, and on the other, you have the poisoned wasteland of Viper.
I mean, honestly, if we're going by kingdoms, ZOL Meraki for me are the Fire Nation, because they are really playing out their minds at the moment. And Harry, then the Fire Nation came, and honestly, they are leaving nothing left standing in their wake. They now move to one of their best maps of Icebox, and if you are on GD, you are in big trouble.
However, there is, on GD, there is a saving grace, right? And she's called Banmiles, and she is the de facto Viper Poison Queen for this roster. And Viper has been ubiquitous on Icebox almost since the inception of the map. Let's head over to our Agent Select. I think we can basically guarantee what's going to be going on here. As you can see, Banmiles has already picked up the Viper. I don't expect to see a huge amount of real variety in these compositions, except I'm kind of surprised to see that Nicole is not playing the Chamber.
Yeah, I don't mind having the Killjoy. I think the Killjoy has their ults can be a little more impactful when you have the momentum, because the Tour de Force, while it was great, if you've already got a Jet who's doing well with the op, that Tour de Force just becomes a eco ult to use, right? For ZOL Meraki, they didn't really have many ecos, so there wasn't much mileage in having the Chamber. Having the Killjoy, you have that lockdown, which can be instrumental to your retakes, and the fact that we didn't really see too many objective victories, it makes me think that with the Killjoy, we may be seeing some preemptive lockdowns just to try and secure some really early advantages when it comes to just keeping opponents off the site.
It's going to be a straight-up mirror matchup here, of course. Nothing overly surprising. Your choice to make here on Icebox being quite a rigidly, strategically meted map is you either go double duelist if you happen to be a particularly aggressive team, like, say, old 100 Thieves maybe with a Suna, or you go double Sentinel. And the Sentinel, admittedly, recently has had a little bit more variety. In the second Sentinel, you could play either the Killjoy or the Chamber. But Killjoy is pretty well practiced on this map, especially with the ability to AFK control kitchen and mid.
Yeah. Something we haven't highlighted, Harry, and it's very unlike us to highlight this, which is how cool the GD's logo is. Like, that is one of my favourite logos of all time.
Masterclass.
Genuinely, I think that kind of describes us when we see some cool plays. Like, that logo is us. Like,
me pulling my hair out, quite accurate.
Back when my hair was longer and it was possible, I reckon we could have mimicked that logo. I think it's actually for the sake of our viewers that they don't have to see us try. But
you could probably pull your beard out.
My beard isn't that big anymore. It's I got it. That's true. I was
trimmed,
honestly. I had my first ever wet shave, Harry, and wet shave. A wet shave is when they use like a razor, right? And it never occurred to me how tense I would be when someone's holding an actual knife to your throat. Like, I genuinely was like sweating profusely, and they kept looking at me as if like, you're okay, bud. Like, it was. I didn't think I would be able to embarrass myself by the mere action of being shaved, but honestly, I found a way, Harry. I think you'd be proud of it.
Well, the GamDaeng fans are also going to be sweating profusely, so don't worry, Kramer, you are not alone.
I'm not alone.
This is
I'm not alone.
A very nervous time to be a GamDaeng fan, because of course this is their first time making it into the playoffs here at the APAC Game Changers. In our Open 2, they just about missed out. In Open 1, I believe they lost to one of the teams that didn't end up going into playoffs as they were trying to make their way into those. However, GamDaeng, they continue to iterate and continue to get better, even if they do get knocked out here by ZOL Meraki. They certainly are going to be coming into Open 3 with renewed vigor and renewed strategies. Still, they decided they wanted to go to Fracture, so maybe we see, maybe they're more of an attacking-based team. Like you said, if they'd got more than one round on the defensive side of Fracture, it could have been a very different map.
You're absolutely right. We do have a quick tech pause, so we can talk a little bit more about how attacks sort of formulated Fracture there. Icebox, significantly more defender-sided. I would argue that Icebox actually is defender-sided, just by a fraction. And what I quite like about most Valorant maps is they are really even. So being able to see Icebox turn into what will really down pressure the Jets for their ops, that op pick that you can get on the Jet is actually the only real reliable way you can probe for a man advantage.
Yeah, and we know that Capricious is going to be very happy to pick up that op. Of course, on the other side, we do have another Jet as well. I believe it's Peachy who's managed to pick up the Jet this time. They were playing the Raze previously. A little bit less space clear compared to the Raze, who of course has both the Boombot and the paint shells to be able to move people out of these covered areas. We're going to be able to head into game in just a moment so that we can stop postulating about strategies and actually review what happened. However, of course, eating pizza with a knife. Oh my goodness.
No, Harry. I watched you do this. Literally, days ago. I watched you eat knife with
I was trying to be culturally respectful of the Swedish.
By eating pizza wrong. Now they think we're weirdos.
Well, shouldn't have got us weird pizzas then.
It wasn't weird, it was just Swedish.
No, they were weird pizzas.
Yeah,
the Swedes make weird pizzas.
They do. Yes. Capricious. Well, I like the aggressive stance. It's just an early probe for information. And actually, the entirety of ZOL are at a really close angle for what is a pistol round.
Ooh, two people fired at that arrow. Little bit of miscommunication there. Executus has already been seen, and they're going to try and flee away. Chased down by Peachy. And still that drone remained alive. That is a little bit of a weirdly long-lived owl drone right there, Kramer.
Huge mileage for Panny, though, to be able to get that much info off the back of one drone. Nicole, about to be pressured, though.
Nicole, unable to really connect too many shots right here. has been healed up. That's a bit of a better connection. Takes out her counterpart. A third maybe to go.
Oh my God!
Unbelievable. Starting off Icebox and turning this one around. Come fight me, Panny, she says. And that's going to be 4. As powerful as she was on Fracture, she's only charging up further. The Fire Nation has arrived.
Harry, when we said this on Fracture, the second Zol look like they're in a close round, either Nicole or Capricious or Piety, they will do something. I don't know what they'll do, but they will do something, and their team will win because of it. In this case, it's Nicole who just out of nowhere brings out 4 kills. And bear in mind how messy that first kind of engagement was to the players on the back of yellow. They really did just open it up. Some huge kills. And now, I mean, why stop the confidence there? Capricious, will there be a ghost in this round? A bit ballsy, Harry, dare I say it.
They want that operator as soon as possible. So Meraki looking to make the most of starting off on this defense. Not the ideal there with the Spectre Mia's already out of ammo. But their exit is going to be covered. Oh, you've moved back into the Nicole zone and you don't want to be in the Nicole zone.
You do not want to be in the Nicole zone. Look how aggressive this stage has been able to get as well.
Considers healing themselves. Holds onto it for now. Panny. Pinged, noted, executed by Piety. And now the spike should be crunched upon. This has been well read by Nicole. Taken down by the controlled arms fire above Malvez. And the Viper up high. The spray transfer is solid, but Capricious is the one who picks up the final blow with that Ghost. And so ZOL Meraki grab their second. And actually walked away with all the Spectres they bought.
Yeah, and for Capricious particularly, look what this has worked wonders for their credits. So, sit at 4.6k, post-buy. ZOL get to play their bonus, and against a very Vandal-heavy buy of GD, the range is always going to be in favor of GD here. So that aggressive stance that ZOL have been showing towards the front of A main, I wouldn't be surprised if they attempt it for the 3rd round running. Now, this time, that won't be the case. They sit back on site, and that may actually be a chance just to invite GD into hitting this A site. Even though there were a fair few pings achieved already, does GD care about the fact that they're known?
We will at least have the confidence, like you said, of the greater weaponry. Hoping that Capricious will take a swing here. The assistance of this Viper Wall is going to be absolutely integral. If Exakis can time it well, Capricious still yet to be noted. This is some great patience here, and they haven't been cleared by these arrows. Capricious still alive, still full HP. With the Spectre, Exakis has taken up Wisdom. And now Peachy, they aren't able to really convert on this one just yet. Capricious goes low, tries her best to simply swim away through the air, doing the breaststroke ineptly in the midst of the oxygen clouds, but still she will draw breath. 36 HP remains for Capricious, and GD, they've lost out on a couple of their rifles here. Exakis and Capricious have got those in hand, but Capricious, of course, can't survive the engagement here with Ban Miles. Exakis gets aggressive. That looted Vandal put to good use as they pick themselves up a 3rd. This has been her best round in this game yet. And now she might be presented a 4th here as Malvez moves forward. The swing from Nicole as Malvez tries their best to survive. It's a good ping-pong peek, and it's worked out wonders.
How did Capricious survive as long as they did, Harry? Like, I tell you what, while there may be a Beardy on their team, I think it's Capricious who really is the pious one, because there is a god somewhere currently smiling at them who's decided, you know what, Capricious, it's not your time.
I love how much you just absolutely massacre words. So there's
really
a piety on their team as if it's just like the same as deity.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Look, English is a wonderful language, and the only way to get new words is to invent new words, Harry.
Piety already is the word. We're inventing new meanings for old words. We're recycling Kremer, eco-friendly.
Hey, that's very green-fingered of me. Look, it's not my fault.
I'll let you.
It's not my fault you're a nerd.
I am a nerd. You're the opposite of a nerd somehow.
It's incredible that I'm not the nerdy one in this duo. GD. They find themselves going for a very aggressive push, but the Sage is already on the flank.
Oh,
This
what a
is,
shot.
once again, looking very favourable, regardless of the opening that was achieved by the Viper.
And Panmila's there taking out the Viper does mean that there is a lootable weapon somewhere. Piety round the back. A little bit confounded as Panny hits what they need to with that weapon. Look at this. Mia continues to play the door.
Oh,
Gets three. Mia takes one after the other. And every single
Harry.
fight taken ends in a big old dub.
Oh, Harry, it's going so badly for GD. Like, something that really surprised me, that there wasn't even a spike plant. I think that was actually on Piety, who was able to kill the planter from the flank. That delays it, and GD just don't react to the fact, they don't kind of process the fact that the spike isn't down. And it means that their economy continues to just get pummeled. Yes, they hit a full buy this round, but there's no op in sight, and more importantly, look at the credits behind this buy. There's nothing. In terms of ult management, you do have a Viper Spit, you do have a Resurrection. That Viper Spit ain't getting used unless you already commit the Resurrection, which means you're committing an ult to use another ult. It's just it's so draining.
Trickle down autonomics, Kremer.
Yeah, it's so draining in both economy and utility here.
Nicole managed to avoid the attentions of that drone as well. One spotted, but Panny, beautiful accuracy right here. The operator confounded by the cloudburst, and they are refreshed here as Capricious is going to be pinged. Did they see the end of that Phantom? Oh, not soon enough. Peachy take it out. Exekis. And there's a world here where you already call the save with the operator just because you don't want Peachy to get her hands on this.
No, it's actually, I want to see that call kind of now. Unless there's an opening that's achieved in the next second or so, ZOL needs to get that out of there. Just save your weapons. Yes, they have money, but that money is only going to last for so long.
Timing peaks here as Miha may want to try and recapture the Whoa!
Oh,
Okay, there it is.
oh,
The magic
my.
is back. Welcome back to ZOL. What score? Witchcraft and Wizardry. That's going to be a Gryffindor for Mia. Get your protagonist flavor out and get your operator out of there too. ZOL Meraki. They may lose the round, but what they do is damage GD's economy more than they can bear.
I mean, yeah, they finally went around, but that was way more costly than it should have been. And even after they get their investment, look at what it's done to their money. They just don't get the luxury of having a buy next round should they lose. And when we do look at ults, it's about even on either side. Both teams have their res, both teams have their Viper Spit, both teams have their Hunter's Fury. However, the one advantage GD have is that Wisdom is just one away from getting a lockdown, and fighting for orb control on Icebox is actually relatively easy if you commit players to engaging for it.
Big pings here. Does seem like GD are kind of dropping the ball on being able to destroy those recon arrows in good time.
Toxins going up.
Toxins re-established here, and mid now needs to be worried about by ZOL Meraki. That's a good move by GD to try and demand that attention. Still moving into the Nicole zone here. We know that this is a very dangerous area for a GD member. The turret sees for first. There's a one-way here that could be exploited by Exekis as well.
BG has to be hesitant for the time being, as GD continue their momentum now, really looking to push into this B site. Do we see the use of the lockdown? Actually, I would really like to see the use of Wisdom's lockdown here.
Remember, Exekis wanted to survive to be able to use that Viper's Pit, and now the operator has been seen. Noted Wisdom pre-fires and is pre-rewarded for it. Miha says no spike plant here. Thank you very much. Holds on to the last burst of her ultimate as Capricious begins to move on in. This is very cheeky. A miss with the operator as the Sage manages to dash aside and avoid the bullets. And ZOL Meraki once more in a position where a retake is not ideal, but Miha is still active, and boy, has she had herself a map already. Miha, possibly the most deadly player in this lobby at the moment. Nicole's been brought back as well, and you know that she's no slouch. Niha looks for a duel, almost finds one, but Peachy strikes first. Now it's Piety's turn to try and be the battler. And guess what? This time ZOL Meraki can't find the arrow. It lights them all up, and then Maldays does the same. GD hit a second.
We've got a game in our hands, Harry. We have a game in our hands, and that did mean the commitment of both Hunter's Fury and the Resurrection on ZOL Meraki. And for GD, there wasn't a commitment of ults. Their B site take is looking phenomenal at the moment. You look over to the ult management on GD. They have everything they could ask for. Peachy's one away from a Blade Storm, but why bother with the Blade Storm when you're not wielding it up and you don't have bad money? It's not a key ult for the success of their team. And you mentioned the Guardian usage. We're finally seeing it on Nicole here.
We know she loves this weapon. One tap warrior. But how many of those taps can be delivered here? That's the first! A second no. Peachy takes the swing a little bit too fast. Nicole can't adjust, but that's okay. Being able to take out the Sage means that the plant mess is going to be so much weaker. Without that wall that would previously be used there, Exekis can only grab one. Peachy's on their third. This is an absolute masterclass from the Jet. And Capricious now has no option but to move forward with the blades in hand. A refresh there as they take down even more.
Whoa.
Capricious says, Peachy, impressive. No, 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 leg day. You're talking about the wrong Jet, love.
Harry, there's that Blade Storm we were talking about. Now does Peachy bring a Blade Storm out just to show Capricious how it's done. Something I want to highlight, actually, is from both teams, is how effective their Sovas have been with the info gather. And while the Hunter's Furies haven't been incredible, we've seen some sick recon darts. And I don't think there's been a round where a team has been able to get to a site without being pinged at least twice from these Sovas. And as GD now have all 5 ults available, do we finally see GD just go for a big ult dump just to guarantee a round and potentially reset ZOL Meraki? Or are they going to try and feather them a little bit, just so they always have something in hand?
Well, Peachy has demanded attention here. Capricious can't hit the first shot. Remember now, there is no tailwind, but what you do have is a Nicole up close and personal. Peachy opted into that right-click. Wisdom's now been resurrected. The wall has been taken down already. This is already getting super manic here, Kremer. And there isn't an easy way into this B site, and so GD have been stopped in their tracks. Unable to destroy Capricious, but have been able to extricate Nicole from the scenario. And Miles takes a first point of crossing Exekis. Won't be slain here. And Peachy playing up high. Noise is being made. Capricious, they get there in time. A beautiful flick upwards. She has slain her counterpart once more. Peachy might start to have a couple of issues with the confidence in the Jet versus Jet, but this is a well-placed lockdown. Forces many members of ZOL Meraki out of here. Look at who's staying to try and play. Mia punished for her attempts at the gunplay.
Spike planted.
This is very, 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 very difficult work. And Miles had no health to work with. Exekis says that I am the Viper to watch, and she is damn right in this scenario.
That couldn't have been more perfect in terms of bullet placement from Exekis. Bear in mind, with a Vandal, they're giving away tracers. So, GD, after about 5 shots, they're just going to start returning fire. And for ZOL, they're just looking at those first 5 shots, just happen to kill the Viper. What a shutdown onto Palmillas now. And for ZOL, as they move into their next sort of cycle of ults, everything's starting to come online again. Nicole has their lockdown. Piety just 1 or 2 away from being able to bring out that resurrection. And over on GD, these last couple of rounds, they've been using their ults, but to no avail. Planning X does have this Hunter's Fury, which for me is going to be the real telltale sign as to whether or not this is a team that have aim or a team that have tactics.
Piety doesn't actually shoot that alarm bot, decides to simply camp it instead. The Owl Drone moving forward here. Malvage tries to avoid. Oh, and Exekis has fallen down. A lovely shot from Peachy. The alarm bot has been triggered, trying to drag Wisdom into a duel, and Wisdom takes the bait. Hook, line, and sinker. Piety will claim that one.
Watching.
Precious. We've seen how effective she's been with this op. And honestly, Capricious is revealing themselves to be actually quite an aggressive op wielder.
Poison's gone.
As demonstrated, Harry. As demonstrated.
Last player standing.
Unbelievable. Mia grabs a pair. And we know that Mia has been coming into her own here on Icebox. Attempt at clearing. Yep, you thought we were checking the right, but Capricious had her scope firmly planted upon the left. ZOL with 7 here. They've already won the half here, Crammer. The question is, how far can they run away with it?
Capricious, they got this op around 4, I think, Harry. And it just hasn't left their side since then. They've just been unstoppable. Like, even in the rounds they've been losing, just instant reinvestment, bring out the op again. Why not? It's working. And
they've only died twice.
GD haven't really found a solution, have they? They've been, I mean, yeah, there's a, they've had a few ult usages and, Zekers.
It's okay, sometimes you get that limp arm.
It's one of those days. Peachy goes aggressive, looking to peek above that Viper's smoke. As Nicole, I mean, we've seen how good they can be from this position.
However, they've got the toughest of duels to begin with here, up against Ban Miles, who wants to almost do entry here. However, Capricious elsewhere has been distracted by Wisdom. That was at the top of mid. And so movement away from this is going to be so much more difficult. Still movement into it isn't welcoming either, because you're dealing with an Exekis who's mad about their smoke messing up, but their gunplay's just fine, baby. Their gunplay is clean as it comes, and while they can't beat Malvase, Capricious has arrived on the scene to be able to clean it on up for the Chief.
ZOL just sold his place. Well, Harry, this is really looking bad for GD now. Like, I was at 9-3 is meant to be the cursed scoreline in APAC, isn't it? Like that's the fabled
scoreline in
scoreline.
Valorant.
Yeah, I can't help but think that we may not even get to the cursed scoreline here. GD, they just don't have cash, Harry. ZOL continuing what is proving to be a dominant first half. And you look at the ult management as well. They have all the utility they could ever hope for. And look how aggressive Capricious is.
Unbelievable. Capricious, well checked there. Good discipline from GD to use the owl drone early, noting that they are lacking information.
I'm loving Capricious's just aggressive ops playstyle right now, Harry. It's so effective.
Capricious though!
Pamiles
Outsucked by Panmiles!
Usurps the jet. Now the man advantage.
Death up against another. The operator. The eyes are kept upon it. As Capricious is resurrected and
that's
killed
brave.
once more. Welcome back and goodbye. That would be 2 for Panmiles, please.
Traded,
why
though.
Return me to this hell.
why bring me back to this mortal coil? Oh, when one opper fails, there's always another, Harry.
Always a bigger fish. Oh, and Piety, the biggest fish in the pond right now. The aquarium is getting too small for this aquatic life. What a quick scope, Mia! Are you sure you aren't the jet?
Last round before the switch.
That was uncanny. That was unnatural. That was ungodly. I'm gonna need someone to exercise Mia right now because she's got a demon in her.
Can we appreciate that? Even after Mia does that, Capricious goes, give me the op back. Rather than just getting another
You're
one.
holding my op.
GD, I mean, even if Peachy brings out an op, how do you beat that? Like, you finally killed the op that has been giving you just so much pain, and Mia just brings it back. You had to kill that op 3 times that round if you wanted to get it out. Even though that may not have been enough.
All right, Mia, punished for sins previous, a drop down. Might be considered here as Exekis plays within their Viper's pit. It's going to be difficult to try and cross this. And Capricious is trying their best to make some spots happen with the updrafts. GD are hanging around this Viper's pit at the moment. I'm surprised there isn't more of a concerted sort of fake over towards B to try and get Exekis to vacate the pit, but I suppose at the moment GD recognize that it's quite likely that ZOL overcommit personnel to B when A seems nigh impenetrable.
Piety. This is a really unorthodox angle here. Does it get cleared by GD? Do they expect Piety to be there? And they don't. Instead, they just don't even worry about it. They head back round to B, where they're going to be running into Nicole, who has been, I mean, frankly, just as scary as Capricious.
Malvase doesn't play for the Auburn Res here, which is interesting considering that this is for last round of the half. Nicole has already sent Malvase into the maw of death, and 1-for-1 is just fine in this final round when you're trying to deny that. Look at this. No wall, but still no plant. Piety finds the wallbang. Ty makes fools of us all, but Capricious makes fools of GD first. ZOL walk away with double digits on the half, and Kremer, this was a well-contemplated map pick for a Capricious who is on.
Capricious is just playing out their mode right now, and I mean, what did GD do to stop it? Peachy's still top ranking for them, but does that matter? Like, there's been, because of how effective ZOL have been at shutting down the economy of GD, it means that GD have never really been able to bring out an op to try and challenge Capricious, which means Capricious just roams free. They literally, they pick an angle, go, hey, you know what, I want to push A. The rest of the team go, I mean, fair enough. They push A, they get a kill, as to be expected. They back off, they get another one. It's, right now, the best chance GD have is on their defense, take the pistol round in a one-sided fashion, and then just dominate from there on out, so Capricious can't bring out that op. And while it's wrong to put so much kind of praise onto Capricious, even though they are playing well, the whole victory isn't solely because of them. Nicole has had some incredible rounds, and as has pretty much everyone. But for Capricious, those rounds where Mia have been able to play so well is after the opening from Capricious.
I mean, you're exactly right. Capricious had a great game, but it was a whole team effort from ZOL Meraki. And Mia, who had a more supportive role on, I believe, the Breach over on Fracture, has definitely come into her own as a gun brawler. Even being able to pick up that up and getting one of the nastiest quickscopes that I have seen in competitive Valorant. You and I have been casting APAC Valorant at like the VCT level or just about there for about half a year now, Kremer. And honestly,
that is nasty.
That's the nastiest quickscope that I have seen.
I think before then we had, I think, Juicy back when he was on Louvre.
Yeah,
I think he had a few good performances, but I mean that's just been usurped. Mia, who'd have thought that the op for us playing the tournament so far comes from the Sova.
It's uncanny. There's a reason why Sova's promotional art has him holding the op, right? Just Mia is the avatar of Sova in this case. In fact, she's been very good as an initiator, no matter what agent she's been on. Let's get back into it to see if GD can potentially dig themselves out of this hole. But let me tell you, Kremer, this is a pretty deep one to try and scramble out of.
I'm going to level it with you, Harry. I am having my doubts for GD at the moment. I think we were expecting to see a third map, regardless of who wins, kind of each map. But ZOL have just been playing out of their mind. For GD, they set up for, once again, a fairly aggressive stance over on A, looking to mimic the same aggression that ZOL were doing on their pistol round, but mid is the true point of contact here as they look to wrap to B.
Capricious. She's got a hot date tonight.
Things.
Doesn't want to stick around here for long. And the Ghost as well, in hand. Not necessarily the ego buy of the Sheriff, but still with some significant firepower behind it. Look at that, the speed of the plant, and it's in such a difficult position. Piety and Nicole, they've set themselves up a beautiful crossfire, and Exekis may have fallen. But Pannies, they're in a 1 versus 4, and at this range, it's so difficult. There's a simple dance in front of them, but ZOL, they are dancing a tango that is particularly spicy. They hit 11 and can grab an anti-eco.
I can't help but think, Harry, that is one of the nails, the kind of third or fourth of 5 nails being hammered into the coffin of GD right now. They still have a chance. They allow ZOL to hit match point, they move to their full buy, and they just have to be playing perfect from there. For ZOL Meraki, I they're looking unstoppable, Harry. They really are. And right now, I would argue that the teams that have to play against them next are going to be shaking ever so slightly.
Yeah, there is a world where the loser of our upper bracket match, which is going to be coming up next, is not a fan of going up against Meraki here.
No.
The Owl Drone remains alive. Mostly classics in the hands of GD. It's only the one sheriff in the hands of Pan Miles. Peachy's already fallen on down, and Piety continues to grab space as aggressively as she can. Wisdom just on the other side here of the snake bite. The vulnerable begins to move away. Mia simply makes a wild dance across the open plains of Icebox. Ah, the running of the Mias. One of nature's most beautiful
Match point.
occurrences.
So that only happens in the first couple of months of each year. They migrate.
Moving from north to south. In search of
Following.
greener pastures.
Following the warmer weather. So Meraki find themselves 12-2 up. I don't know what to say right now. GD, yes, they have a full buy, Harry, but I mean, yeah, they might win this round. But even if they win this round, the next round's just going to be even harder.
Capricious.
They saw the barrel.
They've seen a barrel. She lies in wait. Van Miles might expect this. No. They move over so noisily. Think about the amount of information here that's been gathered by Capricious. Still, she can't move up because there is going to be an alarm bot there. And now with this spike planted, this is by no means a given for GD moving through as a group. That's a beautiful play from Capricious. 2 down, an upgrade to the weapon. Who's up next? It's Wisdom who goes in for the battle. But Mia has already been too distracting. 1 versus 2. And Pan Miles cannot carry GD to victory. ZOL Meraki make a statement not only to GD but to the rest of the bracket that they are not to be trifled with.
You know what? If Capricious is just in your tournament, just hope they're on the other side of the bracket. Then that way you don't have to worry about them until the finals. Like, wow! And bear in mind, Capricious is at an angle that was pre-cleared on both the pistol round and the round after. The fact that it's on the 3rd time Capricious plays that angle, the one time they don't check it, and it's the one time it leads to GD's downfall. Despite having an incredible logo, unfortunately, Harry, they were not able to usurp not just Capricious, but the whole of Meraki.
It's worth noting, though, as GD, one of the first teams to exit our open playoffs here, they have iterated from Open 1. They made it further in.
That's true.
Granting themselves a position in the playoffs. We expect continued iteration from GD over the course of the next 2 open tournaments. And, of course, after that, we have open overtime and last chance qualifiers as well. So, GD, they still have a really good chance this year of making it to our Game Changers Elite Series in APAC.
You're absolutely right. Let's take a look at the scoreboard, though, and honestly, Harry, I don't think it will come as any surprise to see Capricious as the MVP, as is Peachy. I mean, Peachy tried to match Capricious, but when you lose 13-2, matching them is definitely a tall order. 5.3 KDA, though, Harry. A 350 ACS. Capricious is... Built Different doesn't even come close, because Built Different implies that there was a human who built them. They must have been forged in the fires of some sun.
Forged in the fires of Mount Doom.
Genuinely. And maybe the reason Capricious is here is because Sauron made them and went, oh, that's too powerful, and just sent them to our realm.
Yeah, but like, so, we can't handle Capricious in Middle-earth. We'll pass on her, send her to Midgard. Yeah. We'll deal with the Rings of Power instead. That might be a little bit more manageable for us.
The Rings of Power are more balanced, comparatively.
Rito, please fix.
So, I mean, they dominate, let's be honest. I think it goes by no surprise here to see the fact they win on headshots and the Jan on damage. Something I'm looking forward to doing though is seeing how they're going to match up against the loser of our next series, Harry.
Yes, our next series is going to be Team SMG versus Arresta here on the substream. Over on the main stream, I believe Orangutan are still going up against X10 Crit Female. Orangutan are actually 0-1 down. And they should be heading into Icebox soon. I don't have any data on that currently. But the first
They're
map
currently
Breeze
9-4 up,
was
Harry.
13-5. Ooh. That
So
one could go to a 3-mapper.
Probably going to be seeing a third map actually in that series, so that is going to be something to look forward to. However, we're going to head to a quick break. I believe we may have a bit of an extended break before our next series because we are still waiting for some players to get ready. So hopefully after that we'll be able to bring you our upper bracket series of the day. See you soon.